Hey guys, I have not done a video in a little while. Most of my battle reports lately have been tournament preparation, which apparently is a euphemism for really one-sided stomps, because when I ask people to bring competitive lists, my definition of a competitive list and my opponent's definition of a competitive list are two different things. So I'm definitely trying to make some strides there. But today was the first of three tournaments that I've been preparing for. I had a tournament today, Saturday, the 4th of November, and then I have one next weekend on Saturday as well. And then the week after that is a 2-day GT in my local area. Which will be Saturday and Sunday. So it's kind of a cool ramp up to that. The one today was a little more low key, a little more casual. The one next week will be bigger, a little more serious, and then obviously the GT is very serious. Going to be bringing out pretty much all the heavy hitters from my local meta. Which, if you guys don't know, I live in Arizona, which is actually a very good state for 40K. We have a lot of really strong players here, a lot of ITC ranked people. A lot of people travel to our events from like California. We can go to California very easily. It's a pretty good state for Warhammer. So if you ever stop by Arizona, definitely give me a shout out or something. And happy to play a game. But we'll get into the event. So it was going to be a 3-round, just standard pairing, round one random. After that, you kind of are placing the higher people with the higher people, using the new ITC missions. I guess they're not super new at this point anymore, but the revamped ones. So if you guys haven't had a chance to check those out, I definitely recommend it. They are significantly better than the first round of ITC missions, and then of course also significantly better than anything Games Workshop has put out yet, because their missions are trash for competitive play. That's just how it is, unfortunately. Basically, they're a mix. The ITC ones now are like a mix of the Nova open missions and some of their old stuff. So what you'll do is you have fixed objective placements in, I think, 4 or 5 of them. I think there's only one where you put objectives down, but I don't remember exactly. And then you do a random deployment type. So, Dawn of War. I forget the names of the other ones, but yeah, there's the 6 normal, so you just generate that. And then you score points in 3 different ways. One is at the end of the round, where basically do you hold more objectives than your opponent? Did you kill more stuff than your opponent? One is at the end of the turn. Do you hold a objective? Did you kill a unit? There's also bonus points that are different for each mission. So like maybe you have to hold 4 objectives. Maybe you have to hold some objectives with characters. Maybe you have to hold a particular objective. They're usually fairly simple things like that. And then where you can kind of flavor it to taste is you get to pick 3 secondary objectives out of a list of, I think it's 8 if I remember off the top of my head. It's something like that. There's a few different ones, like you can get within your opponent's deployment zone, you can kill characters, you can kill vehicles or monsters, stuff like that. They kind of are a soft way to push people towards playing more balanced armies, which is good. So I showed up at the event. We had a problem initially where just a lot of people did not show, even though they expressed interest in going. Our tournaments usually have pretty good turnouts here, so we only had 5 people, unfortunately. But then a friend of a friend managed to come by, and so we got 6, which is enough to run the event and get good games in and things like that. We didn't take up much space, and it was, like I said, pretty casual environment, which was good. In addition to myself, there was the person TOing the event who was taking a Yanari army. With a lot of like bikes and stuff like that. There was a very strong local player who was taking more of a soft, just for fun list. It was all Primaris, Imperial Fists. There was a Dark Angels player who I didn't get a great look at his army, but he was pretty casual as well, from what I understand. There was a pretty tough Imperium army, which was had Celestine in it, Gilliman. The rest is all mostly Ultramarines, so good amount of Razorback spam. Also had some Scions and stuff like that, and Deep Strike with special weapons, so definitely a good list there. And then there was a Nurgle player who had a 3 Supreme Command Detachment army, just running like a lot of kind of weird stuff. It was basically like an Epidemius list with some Forge World things, so like the really big Forge World character, like the 600 point one, another Forge World Demon Prince, like 3 other Demon Princes, 3 Sorcerers, a Great Unclean one. I think that was like the whole army. So yeah, just definitely a diverse army or diverse field. So what I ended up taking was my Chaos that I've been working on for about a month at this point. The list I've finally settled into is as follows. It is 2 battalion detachments and a supreme command. So it is Abaddon as the warlord. His trait is first amongst traitors, which is terrible for the list, but he has to take it. It's just the rules. Special characters always have a trait that they have to take. That one is completely useless in this list, pretty much, but it's fine. There's the only other one I'd really take on him is like the 6+ feel no pain, the extra wound, which would be better, but what are you going to do? He also has a sorcerer with a jump pack, Mark of Zinch, a combi plasma, a force axe, and the Eye of Night, which I did not use in any of my games. I don't think. I think I always forgot it, so I need to get better about that. It's a very minor benefit, but it helps. Every little wound helps. And then he has Death Hex and Warp Time as his default spells. To round out the battalion, I have 3 units of 40 cultists with Mark of Slaanesh, and 3 units of 3 obliterators, also with Mark of Slaanesh. The other battalion detachment is 3 Malefic Lords, all with Creeping Terror and Warp Flux. And then they also have another unit of obliterators in there with Black Legion. And Mark of Slaanesh. I have 3 units of horrors. One is 9 brims and a blue. The other 2 are 9 brims and 2 blues, because I just had some points laying around. And then the Supreme Command Attachment is 5 Malefic Lords with the same spells as I mentioned before. So it's definitely what people expect from Chaos. Like, it's the Malefic Lord spam, because they're just so points efficient. So Smite is so powerful right now, things like that. So it's what people are expecting to see in that regard. But other than that, it's pretty off the wall, I think, and very strong in the meta right now. So I don't have any kind of like big character that you can pick for Kingslayer. If you're more familiar with the ITC meta, which is very popular in the United States, I don't have 10 wound models to go after. I definitely have characters to go after, but that's kind of the big thing. So like, you can also pick the Reaping against my army, because obviously I have these giant cultist units, but they're not very easy to kill. It's very difficult to kill 40 infantry models, especially when I'll often hide like 5 or 10 of them behind a building or something like that. Especially if my opponent has a lot of anti-infantry shooting. And then for 2 command points, you can recycle the whole unit with Tide of Traitors, and that's why my army has so many command points. I have 12 actually, which is among the highest I've seen, especially for a competitive list. I was always like doubling what my opponents had pretty much throughout the entire event. So that was the event, the list I took. I didn't know how serious the field would be. I thought it would be a little serious, because there is an invitation-only tournament coming up in December that the first and second highest placing person or people at this event would get an invitation to, assuming that they had not already gotten one. So like, if the person who got first had already been invited, it would be like the second and the third person. So to me, that was a little more serious. We ended up only doing one. Sorry if you hear Facebook stuff in the background here. I'm trying to turn that off. Yeah, so sorry about that. People are messaging me on Facebook. Yeah, so I thought it would be a little bit more serious, so I definitely took my more serious list. My other armies are, Orcs and Tau, if you've been following my content. So I didn't really feel like playing Orcs. They're very slow to play in a tournament setting right now. I'm kind of waiting on them to get a book. And then Tau are just, like, pretty boring. So I didn't want to let them play them either. I've been feeling my Chaos a lot. So that was what I took. So we'll get into the event. First round, I played against a local player named Don, who's very well known in the Arizona meta. He runs a lot of events. He's a very good player. He likes to travel a lot, so he goes to a lot of the bigger, events and things like that. Usually does quite well. he was playing, like I said, a very soft list, just kind of like looking for more, for fun game. Just kind of taking it easy because he went to the SoCal Open recently, and then we have that large GT coming up in a couple weeks. So his army list was a captain. I think it's just a stock captain. He might have had like some kind of, I think, a power sword or something like that. A Primaris librarian, so Primaris captain, Primaris librarian, with Psychic Fortress and Null Zone, both very good against me. He had 3 Vindicators. He had, what else do you have? 6 just bare bones Terminators, so like no assault cannons or anything like that, just the Power Fist Stormbolter ones. He had 3 units of Inceptors, the Primaris Heavy Bolter guys, which is very good against me. He had 3 or 4 5-man Incessor units, the Tactical Marines. I hate that there's Interceptor and Incessor and Primaris. I think they're named poorly. But yeah, so we had that, and then I think that was the whole list. Yeah, Primaris are pretty expensive. I don't remember anything else. So we played Frontline Assault, which is the you play a long ways on the table, but you can get a little closer to each other. It's a 18-inch no man's land instead of 24. All my obliterators and sorcerer went into deep strike, and then I just kind of had a general like aggressive front with my cultists. So my standard formation is kind of like I'll have a cultist unit in the front with like a line, and I'll make kind of like a box formation with them, but I'll leave space in the middle, so that way I can put my Malefic Lords in there and get them really up front if I need to. So I did that, but more in like a V shape because of the deployment, and then I'll kind of put the other 2 cultists on the flank, and then I'll put Abaddon in the back so that he can, give them all rerolled hits, give them all immune to morale, that kind of stuff. And then the Malefic Lords are kind of, up front, and then the Brimstones and the Blue Horrors will cover the back to make sure that, if my opponent has any flyers, if they have deep strike, that my characters aren't getting threatened, things like that. And then they can also kind of just hold objectives as I go, so I don't have to daisy chain the cultists or leave like a character behind or anything like that. That's their primary purpose in the list. Don deployed very well. He put like a small wedge on my right side with the 3 Vindicators, and then put most of his Marines in like a building so I couldn't see them. And then hid his characters behind the tanks, so I can't shoot them and I can't see them because they're not the closest thing to me. And so yeah, I didn't have very many targets. I did end up going first, so I just moved up my army to get into range. I wasn't quite in smite range for most of it, but not crazy out of smite range or anything. My left unit was pretty well out of the game because all of Don's army was on the right. I didn't know if maybe he would like put some stuff on the left, so I still put them over there. Plus, there wasn't a lot of room because my units are so big. So that that just kind of was what it was. So I kind of started moving the middle unit up through the building. There's a large building in the center of the table that blocked line of sight, but you could walk through it and stuff. So I pretty much put all my cultists in that because there wasn't a lot of targets for their guns on that turn. So I figured I might as well hide them and kind of move them up. And then the other units just kind of, the left unit swept around on the left, and then the right unit just moved up, and then the Brimstone Horrors were like holding some objectives. We were playing, I don't remember the scenario. I think it's scenario 3, the one that has 5 objectives. So you put one on each flank basically, and then one in the center. And then if you hold 3 or more of them with characters, you get a bonus point. So I was able to hold like 3 of the objectives on turn 1, which is pretty commanding because it's going to be difficult for Don to spread his Primaris army out to get that many. He would have to fight me off of him or something like that, which is very hard for him to do, especially since I have objectives secured and I have bigger units than him, even though he also has objectives secured. So I was pretty good about that. I should be scoring the round points, all that kind of stuff, which is what I definitely want to do. My obliterators came in. I didn't have the best placing for them, and this is something I've definitely been struggling with. Slowly getting better at it, but leaving the room for them to get in a little bit so that they can just kind of like toe into Abaddon's aura, because rerolling 1s and 2s with them is like, it makes them so incredibly deadly. They're good even normally, but like when they reroll 1s and 2s, it's really powerful. So I screwed that up a little bit. I got one unit in his aura, but I ideally want to get like all of them or three or something like that. So that's definitely something I wanted to work on. But my shooting went really well. I rolled pretty average profiles for the obliterators, which is all I ever ask for. And I managed to drop two of the Vindicators on turn one. So that kind of takes Don's plan off the table, which he told me and was kind of obvious. Is he wants to use the I think it's like the line breaker stratagem, so that he can nuke all of my malefic lords, because it's very difficult for me to spread them out and keep them safe and things like that. So I was like, well, I just need to take out one of these Vindicators, and he can't do that because the stratagem requires 3 Vindicators. But I ended up taking out 2 of them. Oh, he also had a unit of Hellblasters. That was the other thing I forgot. I knew there was something. And then I killed all of those as well with the Obliterators. So all the Obliterators came down. I have 4 units of them. And then I also use Endless Cacophony to have one of them shoot again. So it was just a ton of attacks. And then Obliterators are crazy good against Primaris Marines because they can get up to Strength 8, with on 2/3 of the time, which means they're winning on 2s. And then they can get multiple damage 2/3 of the time, so they're just like smoking guys, which is really bad for Primaris. Like Primaris cannot just lose guys, willy-nilly. Like they have to get those multiple wounds working and stuff. So yeah, I had a really good first turn. Didn't really get any smites off. I think I got like 1 or 2, but yeah, I killed 2 of the tanks and the Hellblaster unit. So very few threats for my Obliterators now, which is probably my best unit going. And then I'm kind of putting him on the back foot as well. So his turn came around. He made a mistake, which I wasn't sure what was going on at the time, but he did not bring in any of his deep strike stuff. So none of the Inceptors came in, and none of the Terminators came in. Towards the end of the game, he told me that he just forgot about him. He was running on like no sleep, so he just I've definitely done that as well. I think everybody has made just like huge errors when you're super tired or something. So he didn't bring anything in. The Vindicator backed up. He brought all of them. The tactical, I'm just gonna call them tactical Marines, the Primaris tactical Marines forward, and then his other stuff. Did some shooting, killed a couple cultists, killed like a 1 or 2 obliterators, I think. I made some good invulnerable saves, and a lot of them had cover. I actually placed them decently so they had cover, or were protected by line of sight or something. Oh no, but they didn't get cover because he's playing Imperial Fist. That's right, Imperial Fist strip cover. But anyways, yeah, it's still a good good idea to put your units in cover just to kind of get in the habit of it. So I didn't lose very much basically, and then from there the game was kind of, the writing was on the wall in my opinion. Like I was already hugely advantaged just from the power levels of our different lists. But yeah, on my next turn I killed his librarian because he kind of ran it out front to he tried to put Psychic Fortress on it, but I think I dispelled it, or it didn't go off. I don't remember which happened, but it didn't go off in the end. So the librarian was just like a sacrificial lamb. I started shooting more and more of his guys, so I'm like taking out his units and stuff, and my Obliterators continued to like roll I think only like 1 time did they roll 1 damage, which is just brutal against Primaris Marines. I was always getting 2 or 3 damage, and so yeah, I was just working my way through his army, and then by like turn 4 we basically talked through the rest of the game, because all he had left was the Vindicator and 2 tactical Marines. Everything else I'd killed. The only highlight of the game for him was when he on turn 2 he brought down his Terminators and all of his Intercessors, and managed to do quite a bit of damage to me, forced me to recycle one of my cultist units. I think it was on like 10 guys, maybe less. He also managed to kill most of my Obliterators throughout the game, was just focusing all of his shooting on them. Shooting the Vindicator into them, shooting just bolt rifles and stuff like that, just like slowly picking them off. And there were times when I was having trouble getting line of sight for them because the table was set up well. So and Blitters are very slow; they only move 4 inches. I could have ran them, but basically what was happening is I would move them into a position so that like 2 units could shoot something, and the first unit would roll really, really well, and then it would kill it, and the second unit didn't have anything to do because I killed the thing that they were both going to shoot at. So I was kind of like, okay, well, on an average roll, I leave like a couple of these guys left or something like that, but no, I just blow them all away. So I was like, Okay, I can't be mad at that. But yeah, the game was very one-sided. Don got very few secondaries. I think he might have actually gotten 0 secondaries. I think he might have killed one Malefic Lord towards the end. I did have a hole in my line where like I had to recycle one cultist unit. The cultists on the left weren't in position to protect the Malefic Lords, and then the cultists in the center got shot up a lot, so they kind of like weren't as up front as much anymore either. So he got like a charge into them with with 2 intercessors and a captain, but I don't remember. I don't remember if he killed one or not, to be honest with you. But yeah, he didn't get anything else. His 3 were the Reaper, Headhunter, and I don't remember what his other one was. I think he took Kingslayer on Abaddon. Yeah, Abaddon didn't take any wounds in the whole game, and then he didn't kill any units. I chose Recon and Headhunter because he had 4 characters. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot a bunch of things in his list. I'm sorry. It's a little late, and I've been drinking, so this might be a little rambly, but it's fine. He also, in his army, he also had a lieutenant, of course, and a Primaris Ancient with the banner of the Emperor Ascendant, and that was actually was doing a lot of his damage. I think he only failed a couple times to get that off during the game, so he was doing a lot of shooting on my turn. Just gain some damage with guys as they went down, which is very good relic, very powerful. So yeah, I gave up I gave almost no secondaries. I killed all 4 of his characters. I killed his 3 tanks because I took Big Game Hunter because that was like one of the only other ones I could get, and then I took Recon, which I only scored twice. So I didn't do the best job on that one. Recon's one I've been taking pretty consistently, especially when I play against Marines, because Marines are usually very good at not giving up secondary objectives. I don't know if that's intentional or not by the ITC guys, but it's kind of maybe a flaw with the system, because I usually take very few characters. Their units are very small. Like most people don't take 10-man Marine units, and then they don't take that many tanks oftentimes. So you can only get like 2 or 3 points for most of the secondaries, and I don't know. It's just kind of weird that Marines are get that favoritism or how it happens to go. But that's fine because full Marine armies are really bad right now in terms of competitive play. But yep, that was round 1 for me. I got pretty high score. Every turn I was able to kill something and hold an objective, and then every round I killed more than Dawn did and was holding more objectives, except for maybe the first one. So I got pretty close to max score. I also got a lot of the bonus points. We actually screwed up the mission where so the bonus objective is you hold 3 or more. Or the bonus point is you hold 3 or more objectives with characters. But Don thought it was you just hold the center objective, and I didn't look at the packet, so I held the center objective like the whole game. So I scored a ton of points for that, and we were just like, that's fine. We both played it that way, so it's not unbalanced or anything. Nobody cheated or anything like that. So I just kept those points. So I was off to a really commanding start. The other tables were the Eldar Ynnari player versus the Nurgle Demon player. The Demon player was just, from what I understand, like rolling a ton of Feel No Pain saves, and unfortunately there were also some rules issues where he was telling the guy that the giant demon, the 600-point forge roll one, had a 4+ Feel No Pain, which he does not, and also 2 of his demon princes he was taking Feel No Pain saves on when they were not Death Guard or Chaos demon princes. They were the Chaos Space Marine ones, so they have Mark of Nurgle, but they don't get Feel No Pain. Like if you have like a Demon Prince with Warp Time or something like that, it doesn't have Feel No Pain. It just has Mark of Nurgle. Mark of Nurgle does not automatically confer Feel No Pain. So there was, and then that was an issue because the Eldar player was the TO. So ultimately he had to decide what to do with that. Just kind of gave him a warning and let him know for the rest of the rounds and stuff. So that was a little ugly. And then the other game was the Imperial Suit player versus the Dark Angel guy. That was a bit of a stomp from what I understand, but it was a little closer because Celestine died and then didn't come back, stuff like that. So yeah, there was 3 people with 1-0 records. After that, we did lunch, and then we came back. I felt I played very sloppy in the first round. It's hard to get into specifics without pictures. Unfortunately, I just did not have time to take pictures during these games. Whenever I play tournament games, I always feel very pressured to like keep things going, so it's very difficult for me to take pictures. I will try to get better at that. I know it's difficult to illustrate some of the things that happened without, you know, uh, without showing what happened. But like I was moving my cultists very sloppily, like not getting nearly as many shots as I should have on them. Not moving my malefic lords up good enough, like not daisy chaining my horrors, so I could try smites with them. Moving, like I said, my obliterators not always in the best positions, not getting them within Abaddon auras, stuff like that. So I was a little like, okay, I need to like tighten this up a little bit. Obviously I won, but I was gonna, if we played 100 times, I'd probably win that game 99 of them, just because of the power level discrepancy between our lists. I was like, there's some other people here that can definitely take me. I need to, get my shit together, basically. So round 2, I played against the demon player. The guy who was piloting it, his name is Ira. I played him several times before. I think I have a couple, 2 or 3 maybe, battle reports on my blog of going against his, plague or his death guard and things like that. So his list is, like I said, it's 2 Chaos Space Marine sorcerers, or no, yeah, 3 Death Guard sorcerers. I apologize, 3 Death Guard sorcerers with different powers. So he has like that full list. He has Epidemius, a Great Unclean One, the 600-point Forge World Demon guy. His name is like Scavarus or something like that. The other Demon Prince from Forge World, he is not a Psyker, but he makes Psykers worse, and he's like a good fighter and stuff. And then 1 Demon Prince from Death Guard, which had the separating plate, so the 2+ armor save, and you can reflect wounds back. And then he had 2 Chaos Space Marine Demon Princes with Mark of Nurgle. The one with the separating plate had wings, the other 2 did not have wings. So it's just a super character-heavy army, and it's trying to be extremely resilient. So like the Scavarus guy is like toughness 9, for example. Like, so he's really hard to kill. Like most anti-tank weapons, like the math on them are really bad. And then a lot of stuff has feel no pain. His list can get more powerful with Epidemius because everything triggers it. And then except for the sorcerers, and they don't get the benefits. But like then that can pump him up another point of toughness. It can give him reroll 1s on feel no pain, stuff like that. So it's definitely like I call them rock paper scissors lists, where it's a hard skew and it's going to steamroll some things, but it's going to get steamrolled by other things. And I think my list would do very well against that. So the game we played was I think it's the 5th scenario. It's 4 objectives, and if you control all 4 of them, you get a bonus point. And then they're all kind of like on the flanks of the board, basically. Then like just like a pad, like a 2 one at the top, 1 at the bottom, 1 on the left flank, 1 on the right flank. That kind of setup, very typical. We did corner deployments, so the one where there's like a 9-inch bubble in the middle that's the no man's land. But other than that, you just have table quarters. So my plan for the game was his army has to come to me. He has almost no guns, and the guns he does have are very short range. So I have complete firepower dominance. He obviously has complete melee dominance. So I need to like kind of have his army come to me and then deal with it as it comes in. He also has a ton of Psykers. So there's going to be a lot of Deny the Witch. Like all my powers are going to be contested. He has access to a lot of different toolboxy Nurgle powers. Some of them don't matter, some of them do. So I needed to keep, my Psykers around to contest those. So very Psyker-heavy game. My smites are significantly better than his smites because his smites go into cultists. My smites go into demon princes, stuff like that, things that matter. But he does have some defense for them. So it's a very interesting matchup. I won the roll to go first and intentionally had him go first. One, I wanted to be able to score at the end of the round because his army is not good at scenario. He has nothing with objective secured. He has very few models. It's very difficult for him to leave models on objectives because everything but Epidemius needs to like be involved in the game. Even the sorcerers are not like, you know, that forward, so they can be forward sometimes. So like they're the sorcerers and Epidemius are the things he can leave on objectives, but it's easy to take stuff from them. Sorry, people are messaging me on Facebook. Yeah, so that was kind of my plan: is make him come to me, kill the stuff in waves because it has different speeds and the models are quite big. So if I can bunch up a little bit, which I did, I did a very bunker deployment, then it's hard for him to get multiple guys in as well. So I let him go first. The big demon, the 600-point one, came at me, as did the demon prince with the separating plate. The two other demon princes are slower, so they kind of just were more in the midfield. Epidemius was behind a building and then moved towards the objective, like the long edge table objective, so that he could just kind of sit on that. And then the sorcerers all went into like just a ruin that he had. And then the green and clean one was kind of like still back in his deployment zone more, but nearer to the center of the table, so like, you know, kind of a little bit spread out. My deployment was the standard one that I was just talking about, where it's like all the cultists are up front. I had the Malefic Lords very up front because I really need them this game, and then I intentionally made sure that, you know, Abaddon was like way in the back so that I could drop the Obliterators back there and I could get them all within his range of his aura, because like the Obliterators have to do crazy work this game for me to win, because he has like so many, you know, big monsters and stuff like that. So turn one, you got some psychic powers off. Some of the neural psychic powers are really good against my army, like the ones that, you know, make you take like a toughness check on the whole unit. I have big units, stuff like that. So he beat the crap out of one of the cultist units, and then got two very long charges off with the big demon and the demon prince with wings. So killed more of the cultists. I probably had like I think I had like 12 or 15 left or something like that after the combat, but that's fine. You know, like they absorbed all the smites, they absorbed all the psychic powers, everything like that. So, and I'm just gonna recycle them, so it's fine. On my turn, I did just that. I recycled the unit, kept it close to me, so that I could get their shooting in and like bring them on an objective and stuff like that. Spread out a little bit, especially with the horrors, to grab two objectives, because he was actually staying on two objectives. Epidemius had one, and then the non-psyker Demon Prince had another. So I definitely want to make sure that even if I'm not scoring those, I don't let him score them, because the scenario is like my way to win the game, so I can't, you know, give up anything on it. Oh, also for secondaries this game, I took Kingslayer, the Giant Demon, Recon, and Headhunter. I should have taken Titanic Killer one on the big guy as well, but I didn't know he had Titanic keyword at the time, so I just forgot to ask about that. He took Recon, Headhunter, and the Deployment Zone one. I'm not sure why, but that's fine. So anyways, my first turn was extremely good. I brought all the Obliterators down and the Sorcerer, and then I intentionally was like doing all my smites first and stuff like that, having him contest them, and then I brought the Sorcerer quite far back field, so like at max range for Death Hex onto the big demon, where he only had a couple dispels up there, and then he used those dispels. So I was like, okay, going in for the Death Hex, raw dog the 8, which was awesome. He had no dispels in range of it, can't do shit about it. So now the big demon has no invulnerable save, which is really good because it has a 4+ normally. So it's a 4+ invulnerable save, 5+ feel no pain. That on top of toughness 9, really difficult to drop that guy. So I did end up being able to put quite a few wounds on him with smite and the other demon prince, so that was good. And then we went into shooting. I was mostly rolling 7s and 8s for the strength on my blitters. I don't think I got any 9s, which is fine, because I was missing like maybe one shot per group because I'm hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s and 2s, and then winning on 5s is okay when you're that accurate. And my damage rolls were definitely on point, so I was like getting always like 2 or 3 damage, and I managed to kill him. I killed that guy in 1 turn, which was super awesome. And it didn't even take all the obliterators. I had some units left. So he exploded, though. He explodes on a 4+, and that was some poor placement from me because I had some Malefic Lords really close to him. I ended up losing 4 of them to his explosion because he rolled like really high on all the damage results. So I lost 4 Malefic Lords, so that maxes out the secondary scoring for him, but it also killed the Demon Prince next to it. So I killed the big demon and the Demon Prince with the relic. So I got 2 characters there, and then I maxed out Kingslayer right away, which was awesome. And then I managed to put some extra shooting into the Great Unclean One. And did I kill him? Yeah, I killed him. Yeah, that's right. I forgot. I killed that thing on turn 1 with 2 units of obliterators and some las guns. Just rolled again pretty good on the damage results and stuff like that. So really devastating turn 1 again. I killed like well over half my opponent's army in terms of points. I killed a Great Unclean One, a Nurgle Demon Prince with the relic with wings, and then the 600 point guy. So I'm pretty sure that's like pretty close to 1,000. And I completely cleared out my my front, so like there's really nothing threatening me. He's gonna have to come into me in waves. I'm holding 2 objectives, he's holding 2 objectives, but I killed more, so I got the point for that. I'm denying him on scenario. And then the rest of the game kind of went the same way. Like the next turn, the other 2 Demon Princes came up on me. Because the Malefic Lords died, he did get quite a few things added to his tally, so that was probably my biggest excuse me, my biggest mistake that game was not like moving them really far back to be at like max smite range. That would also make it harder to dispel their smites. So if I'm getting into like a Psyker war again, I need to play that range game a little bit better. So that was, I definitely could have been better about that. And then he would have had like no tally, which would have been just devastating because he wouldn't have had anything going on. So he moves the other princes up again, makes 2 more long charges. 1 gets into Abaddon because through the psychic powers and so like that, I couldn't defend Abaddon perfectly. So he gets into Abaddon, and then the other one just gets into like some horrors or something, kills all of them, no problem. Abaddon doesn't go down. He's actually quite resilient against the Demon Prince because he has a 4+ save, and then Demon Princes are damage 2. So with Abaddon's halving, they go to damage 1, which is like not that scary. So I just tanked him, did some damage back to him. And then, yeah, that was pretty much his turn. Passing back over to me, I tried to kill the Demon Prince in combat with Abaddon in the Psychic phase, but didn't get that many smites off. Again, should have pulled my guys back more to get out of range of dispels and things like that. So I left that Demon Prince with 1 wound. Actually left both of them with 1 wound. And then I wasn't able to shoot any of the obliterators because Abaddon was in combat, where I should have retreated him. So the closest target is a character that is in combat. I have no other big monsters. I kill all the big monsters, so all the other things are characters that have 9 or less wounds, so I can't shoot them. So I just wasted a whole turn of obliterator shooting. Yeah, just again, dumb mistakes. I should have retreated Abaddon from combat, and I think there was a Malefic Lord in there too. Like, could have retreated him at no cost because he can still smite, and then I would have been able to smoke both of those Demon Princes, no problem. And then that would have been essentially the game. But it's whatever. In the combat phase, I do believe I killed him with Abaddon after taking some more damage. And then the other one was still alive with 1 wound, even though I charged it with the Sorcerer and a unit of cultists. Just couldn't finish it off, and it killed the Sorcerer, so I was down to the Sorcerer at that point. So on the 3rd turn of the game, my opponent moves everything up. Tries to get in there with the sorcerers and stuff. Gets in there with Epidemius. Still tries to move up the. No, he leaves back the fighty Demon Prince, which I thought was a mistake. I was like, why don't you just leave Epidemius back? But whatever. So he's trying to get in there with what he has left. I manage to not kill his Demon Prince again in combat. The sorcerers charge. I lose a whole bunch of cultists. Actually, lose the whole unit of cultists. Yeah, barely. I think by like a couple models. which is fine at that point. So he gets some reaping points there. Oh, he didn't take the reaping. That's right. But I lose a unit, and then on my turn, I just strike back. I smite the Demon Prince to death. I shoot like 2 of the sorcerers to death with obliterators. And then at that point, the game is basically over. We played it out one more turn, and then I tabled him on turn 4 by killing the last sorcerer. I killed Epidemius, and I killed the fighting Demon Prince, like, no problem. They're not that resilient. So that one I got a big score for again. I got like a 20. I think I got 29. I didn't get Recon. I should not have picked Recon that one. Again, like I said, I should have picked Titanic Killer. I just didn't know that that big guy had Titanic Keyword, which I'm pretty sure he does. I'm pretty sure. But if he doesn't, that's my bad. So I only got 2 points for Recon, but I got everything else. It gave up very little points after the first round. The first round we both only scored a couple points, but after that I was able to get. I was always able to kill more units than him. Always kill a unit, always hold an objective, and then I was able to hold more objectives as his army was like just running out of guys, so he can't afford to leave 2 things back on objectives. And it was always really easy for me to hold 2, but I never got the bonus point for holding all 4 because it was just very difficult against that army. It's so melee oriented and stuff like that. I couldn't be like just running guys at his face, or like dropping. I did think about dropping the obliterators like kind of around, but I would just give them up too easily, and if my plan to like kill the big guy didn't work, I was gonna have to like start selling these cultists really dearly and like try to kill them over 2 turns, something like that. So it was just too risky. But yeah, so at that point I was 2-0, which was awesome. I was the only undefeated person, so I was either gonna play against the Eldar guy, who was the TO, who won his game over. I was either gonna play the Eldar guy or the Imperial Soup guy, who actually played against each other, and the Eldar guy managed to scrape by. From what I understand, it was a very close game. The score was a little lopsided, but the game was very close on the tabletop. Ended up being a tabling for the Eldar, but really could have gone the other way. From what I understand, Celestine did not get up again, and Gilliman also did not get up, even though Celestine was not re-rolled because of just a player mistake. He used a command point earlier, and then she died. Gilliman was re-rolled and still didn't come back, so that was kind of like, well, that's tough to beat through. So the third round was me versus the Eldar guy. His army was super awesome, both looking and in composition. So it was all painted like Harlequin style, basically, even though it was not a Harlequin's list. But it was almost all Ynnari. He intentionally had one non-Ynnari model, he told me, so that he can be in the general Eldar pool for ITC scoring, because everybody that plays Eldar plays Ynnari, so it's like less competitive to be in that pool. I thought that was kind of funny. But he had one Exarch on foot. I don't remember what gear it had. I think he was pretty bare bones, mostly just a reroll bot. He had an Exarch on a bike with the relic shining spear lance thing. I don't know what it's called. And then that's pretty much it for those guys. He had the Yvrine, the girl with the dog, as his warlord, because she has to be, because he's playing a Ynnari list. He had 2 Night Spinners, and then he had 6 units of 4 Shining Spears, all with an Exarch, just the lances and the shuriken catapults. And then he had 2 units of 5 Rangers, the Ranger character, and 3 units of Dark Reapers. I think that was everything. Yeah. I wasn't as familiar. I'm not as familiar with the new Eldar book. It's still very new, and I have only read it a few times. And throughout the many years I've been playing 40k, Shining Spears have always sucked. Like, I don't know if they were good in 6th and 7th, but they were always complete garbage, like, before that. So, apparently they got a huge price decrease. They have a good, like, strength gun. They're good in combat. They're fast, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, cool, let's do it. We played, again, Frontline Assault, so the long table-wise, slightly closer mission. And then we played the 4 objective mission, where basically 2... go on each like far table side, and then 1 is your priority objective, which if your opponent controls it, they get a bonus point, and you can also move your priority objective before the game starts 6 inches, which is stupid because you're always just going to back it up and like hide it behind something, but that's fine. So again, I deployed in my pretty standard way. Definitely managed to, or definitely made sure to put the brimstones in the backfield so that I could deal with rangers if I needed to, and prevent any shenanigans like that from going on. My opponent made some deployment mistakes that we talked about after the game. I didn't notice them right away, but he definitely did, which is you always notice your own mistakes more. So basically, on my left flank, he put the 2 Night Spinners behind a building and 1 unit of Dark Reapers, and on the other side, he had 2 units of Dark Reapers, the Autarch, and his Warlord, and then in the middle was all the bikes. So the bikes were not towed into cover. One, he could not tow them all, or he couldn't tow all of them in cover, but he could put some of them in cover. And then he did not have an autarch for all of his firing base, and there was no point in spreading out his firing base. It just made it weaker. Like it's less soul burst, less synergies, and so that's like the Night Spinners and the 1 Dark Reaper unit do not have access to an autarch unless the bike autarch stays back and hangs out with them, which he can't do. He needs to stay with the bikes, and he's also more fighty, so that's kind of his thing. So some deployment mistakes there for sure. I put my Malefic Lords up pretty aggressively, as well as Abaddon, so that I could make sure I could get the rerolls depending on kind of how the board state developed. We had some awkwardness with the game, so basically I won the roll to go first. He seized on me, but then he forgot to deploy his Rangers, and the way that Rangers work is you have to deploy them before you determine who goes first and who goes second. There's some other units that have stuff like that, like there's a Space Marine stratagem that's similar, just a couple things. And then basically the reason they do that is because if you place them super aggressively and your opponent goes first, they're going to die. But if you, it kind of influences on how you use them. So what we did is we had him place them, and then we redid the roll. I lost the roll to go first this time and did not seize on him. So same outcome, not a big deal. Basically, the 2 Ranger units went back on my left table side. Again, this was a mistake because his secondaries were Recon, Headhunter, and the Reaper, so he could have gotten a free recon by just splitting the units up, and it's better to do that anyways. They have crazy long range, and it's harder for me to deal with them if he does that. So yeah, just another deployment mistake. And then the sniper character went on the left side, so I don't remember if he rerolls ones naturally, but he didn't have access to an autarch either. So he goes first. Doesn't do very much with his army. Doesn't move any of the bikes. It doesn't move anything, actually. Didn't move anything in the entire list. Just shoots me with the Dark Reapers into my cultists. All 3 units, I believe. No, 2 units, and then 1 went to the other unit. And then both the Night Spinners. Night Spinners did not do very well. They were getting low shot output, and then he was rolling a lot of misses for them, which kind of exemplifies the not having the Autarch over there was a big mistake, which he was definitely bummed out about. So I lost like half of a unit of cultists, but very little for going second, which is surprising. He also shot all of his snipers at 1 Malefic Lord and left it with 1 wound left because I kept making 4+ invones, which was probably very tilting for him because the Malefic Lords are 30 points and should not have lived through that, but they did, so whatever. On my turn, I moved the left unit of cultists down to deal with the Rangers, as well as some Malefic Lords, 3 of them in fact, to get some smites in there because the Rangers were a Latok, and so that's -2 to hit, usually -1 always. So I wanted some insurance for that. Everything else pushes forward. I bring in the Obliterators, managed to put them on like the tops of some buildings and stuff like that, which is just a good place for them. We did have a bit of a rules contention later on, so I'm not sure if flying allows you to not pay the inches to go up a building. The wording is vague. I've heard it that you still have to pay the inches, but it's something I need to check on. If anybody knows, feel free to post a comment, and please post a source, not just say I know that it works this way. Like post like a Dakadaka source or something like that. But anyways, so I brought everything down, and then didn't get rerolls on any of the Obliterators except for 1 unit. The reason for that was I had to put them a little bit more forward because we're playing on such like a far table that I need to be in range of multiple bike units with all the Obliterators. Because I plan on spreading their shots out. If you're playing against Inari, you do not kill units. You have to whittle all of the units down at the same speed and then start killing them so that their soul bursts are way less powerful. So that was my goal. So I was like, okay, I'll sacrifice the rerolls, but I have target density and all that kind of stuff. And the psychic, I also brought the sorcerer down in the backfield, reasoning that he has a jump pack so he can get back into the thick of things if he needs to. I just wanted another smite, and I also wanted a fighty guy to try a long range on the rangers. Really wanted to kill those rangers. So smite manages to kill all the rangers except for one, which is awesome. So I killed 9 of them, and then the other smites were all out of range because my opponent didn't move up or anything. In shooting, I managed to finish off the last ranger with a ton of las guns, so that was no problem. So I got those guys out of my backfield, pretty much ended the threat to my characters, because the one sniper guy he's good, but he only does 3 damage, so he's not going to be able to one-round any of the characters, and he's not going to have enough time to get through the amount of characters I have by himself. So I mean, I'll kill him if I can, but he's very low on the priority list. My obliterators were completely amazing. I only rolled damage 1 for them 1 time, and I did shoot them 5 times thanks to Endless Cacophony. I was just eating these bikes. My opponent made a normal amount of saves. I guess they have 4+ invones on Shine Spears, which is really good. If he didn't have that, he would have just lost the game right then and there. But I was basically I would shoot 1 obliterator into a unit and then put the other 2 into another unit. So I was kind of like whittling them down, getting them to like 2 guys, 3 guys, stuff like that. By the time the smoke cleared, I had 1 unit down to 1 guy. 1 unit at 4 still, 1 unit at 3, and all the rest at 2. So I killed like about half of his bikes, which is really good because I didn't give him any soul bursts, and I've taken out, pretty much the heart and soul of his army. His ability to like go get objectives, things like that. I also shot 1 of the Dark Reaper units and killed everything but the Exarch. Again, another good outcome for me because they were in range of some of the bikes, so I didn't want him to get any soul bursts or anything. And then I still managed to score points for the end of the round because I killed the Ranger units, so I got, kill more units than your opponent, things like that. We both had 2 objectives because the deployment type we were playing with the mission is very easy to hold 2 objectives. It's like no problem. So yeah, that was a little bit, but I was doing really well on attrition. My opponent's turn comes around, he moves all the bikes forward, starts going after the building that I have 2 obliterator units in, just trying to get into those obliterators, shoot them, tie them up, stuff like that. The Shine Spears have good guns to kill them, they have multiple damage and all that kind of stuff. Nothing else really moves. The 1 Dark Reaper Exarch moved a little bit to get back onto the objective on the left side, but he's probably going to go down next turn, which is going to end end the Eldar ability to hold 2 objectives unless one of the web spinner or one of the night spinners moves onto it, or some of the bikes move back or something. Neither of those is probably a viable option. So I can start pulling ahead on scenario there. This is where the rules contention came in, where I'm not sure if he has to actually pay the inches to go up and down and stuff. If he did, he wouldn't make so many charges against me, but in the end makes a bunch of charges with the Bright Lances. I don't know why I keep calling them Bright Lances, with the Shining Spears. Also does a lot of shooting with them to kill, I think he killed 5 obliterators that turn total across like all the units, which could have definitely been worse. I made some nice invulnerable saves here and there, things like that. So yeah, that was good. The full strength bike unit goes to my right side and tries to take out the cultist unit that I actually ended up recycling. So I did recycle a cultist unit on my first turn because he dumped so much shooting into it. Brought it up a little bit, was able to shoot some of the bikes, did a couple wounds. But yeah, he shot them up again and also charged them, not knowing that with Tide Traders, you can just pull them out of combat, and it doesn't count as retreating or anything. The unit doesn't count as dying, as far as I'm aware. On the rules, it doesn't say that they die or anything like that. It doesn't say it's a new unit. It's same unit starting strength, so it doesn't give up any points or anything, which is really good for ITC. So he was getting pretty tilted by that because his army just doesn't have the firepower to kill a unit of cultists. Like, you have to focus his entire army into it, probably get some charges in there and stuff like that, and he's just gonna lose if he does that. Like, he can't do that. So it's basically a waste of his time to deal with these cultists, but he can't do anything else. Like, he can't fly over my army because my backfield is protected by the Brimstone Horrors, which he doesn't really want to shoot that much. Short catapults are okay into them, but the lances aren't very good. And then I'll just eat the bikes the turn afterwards because he's not going to get through the Brimstones super easily. So he's kind of between a rock and a hard place. Um, and then yeah, make some charges. That was part of killing the obliterators and stuff, like I said. On my turn, I, you know, just keep moving everything up. I recycled the cultists again to get them out of combat with the Shine Spear, or yeah, the Shine Spears. I almost called them Bright Lances again. The Shine Spears. Just move them, a little bit back. I want to move them forward more, but because of his fire base on the right hand side and my cultists were on the right hand side, I can't do that, so I just had to back them up a little bit, which is fine. I just wanted to get them out of combat, make sure they could shoot again, all that kind of stuff. And it actually got them back in range of Abaddon rerolls, which was nice. I also moved my Malefic Lords into like a building that was near me, so I got them all onto the second floor, so they can start smiting into the other building where my obliterators are and his bikes are, so I can just start smiting into combat to like free up the obliterators and stuff. This is the turn where I'm going to start killing some of the units and generating soul bursts, but the units are all very small at this point, so it's not a big deal. I managed to kill the once full strength unit of bikes on the right hand side with a couple smites and some shooting. So that was good. I managed to kill one bike by itself with the rest of my smites. Some of them failed and stuff, so that one happened. He got a soul burst, which moved one of his bike units. He charged one of his bike units back into my obliterators because I'd fallen back in combat from them. For some reason, he thought that I could retreat with the obliterators and still shoot. That I didn't tell him that was the case, and it definitely isn't. You definitely can't do that. So he was like, "That's another mistake because I shouldn't have charged them because they can't shoot anyways," and I overwatched him and killed a bike with the overwatch. I don't think it was that big of a mistake because he could have put the bikes into combat, so I can't shoot them anymore, and then he gets to fight again. He counts as charging and stuff, so he probably gets to kill more obliterators. So I don't know what else he wanted to do. Like, he could have shot with them, but I don't know. Their shooting wasn't like, there was only a couple guys left in that unit, so it's not going to do that much. So I think charging was the right decision personally. And then my other shooting from the unengaged obliterators just keeps wiping out more of the bikes. At the end of the turn, I basically left him with 4 Shining Spears and the Autarch. I also killed the Dark Reaper Exarch, just finished him off because there's nothing around to soul burst on him anyways. And at that point, we just called it. He wasn't, his words, not really having fun playing against my list because I was just controlling him basically. That's what my army is designed to do. It's very control oriented. So I kept like recycling the cultists. He couldn't deal with them. He definitely doesn't have the attacks to ever finish off a unit now. Like, there's just no way. I'm going to start threatening his fire base soon with my smites. He doesn't have enough psychic defense to deal with that. And then he just doesn't have enough models. Like, he has 2 Night Spinners left, 2 full Dark Reaper units, the sniper character, and a couple bikes and the Exarch bike. But it's not enough. Like, I've lost almost nothing. I did lose a couple Malefic Lords during the game. The one who was on 1 wound left actually perils. I rerolled the perils. He's still perils. So he exploded and like did some damage to the other Malefic Lords that were near him. One of the other Malefic Lords again perils later in the game. I rerolled the perils. He's still perils, which was very annoying. He exploded, so I lost a couple of Malefic Lords pretty much that way. But I still had 6 left and the Sorcerer. So it was just the writing was on the wall. Basically, he was losing the ability to hold objectives. I was gonna hold 2 every time. He wasn't gonna be able to hold any of them. I was actually scoring recon very early. For that game, I took recon, death by 1,000 cuts, and I think I took Headhunter. Yeah, because he had 4 characters. I took Headhunter. His army was very good against secondaries. There was like no good options. I didn't get. I would have gotten death by 1,000 cuts that turn and probably one more time. That's probably all I was going to be able to get with it. But so I wouldn't have gotten crazy amount of points there. But a Headhunter would have been well in play. And then I started getting recon from turn 1 actually. So I was going to max out recon without any issues whatsoever. Just because I deep struck my obliterators kind of aggressively. And then when I did use Tide of Traders, I got the right flank as well, which was pretty nice. So that was good. But yeah, so he scooped. I ended up going 3-0, won the tournament. Pretty good scores throughout. I definitely think I played better and better as my games went. My first game was very sloppy, like I said. My second game, I had a very clear plan entering the game, executed that plan. I had backups. The only things that I really messed up were like some positioning things, like I said, which I definitely need to tighten up. Can be hard sometimes with how many models in the army there are and how many characters and stuff like that. And then the third game was definitely my best. I didn't make really any mistakes, which was definitely good. I did good positioning. I made sure to like take my opponent's threats seriously. I played extremely well around the Inari special, the Swolber special rule. I didn't kill. Some of that was luck. Like sometimes I would leave a unit with like one guy in it when it could have killed that guy or something. But I was definitely splitting my shots appropriately to like try to make that not happen. So I played extremely well around the Swolber special rule, and I think my opponent's army definitely relies on that. My army is also very good against Swolber because I have no small units that you can easily take. I think that's what his list is kind of preying on, is like those 5-man tactical squads, those 5-man scion squads, things like that. My unit is just fat ass blobs of infantry with characters that you can't get to, and then even if you snipe them out with his snipers, it's not going to trigger anything because you're not within 7 inches of them. So really the only way he can get soul burst is off of his own guys, and I was just denying him that as well. And without that, the Shine Spears just weren't doing the damage they needed to and stuff like that. And they didn't have, they could not get where they needed to. I was giving him no entrances to get to the characters for either combat or for shooting. I kept recycling my cultists. I think I recycled that same cultist unit 3 times that game, maybe only 2. But yeah, he kept putting damage into it. I just kept recycling it to get him back to full, get him out of combat, stuff like that. Take board position, get recon. So extremely effective use there. The obliterators just like rocked the house. They've been doing more damage lately than the Malefic Lords have. Like I'm probably okay with the Malefic Lord nerf coming up. It'll definitely hurt because like Smite's so good, but with how many Malefic Lords I run, how many do I have? 8, so that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. So I can run another unit of Obliterators if I want to, which I probably will, as crazy as that sounds, just because like they have no bad matchups. They have 4 shots apiece. They're fine against hordes, and then I have las guns and stuff. They're great against tanks. They're great against like heavy infantry because they can get multiple damage. They're fighting against marines because they can get good AP. They can get good strength, stuff like that, and they have a lot of attacks. Like they're such a great unit. Like I would be, and they get deep strike, so they can always come down and do damage. Which is just fantastic. So I love them. I don't love the sorcerer in the list. He's too expensive and he doesn't really do anything. Like he's just there to cast Death Hex and sometimes Warp Time. Like the reason he has Warp Time is so that I can, if I need to, like get him over to a cultist unit or something that tied up traders and like charge some tanks and stuff. That's like my anti-admech plan, things like that. He's pretty much just a necessary evil at this point. Like the fact that he can deep strike and cast powers is the whole reason he's in the list. So I would like to strip some of the upgrades off of him. Like I don't want him to have a Kami Plasma. I don't care about his melee weapon. I really don't want him to have the Eye of Night. That relic sucks. There's so many better ones in Chaos. So what I'd love to do is like run another unit of Obliterators and then like a Fighty Lord with a jump pack or something, so that I can kind of have multiple ways of giving the Obliterators rerolls, because reroll 1s is obviously almost as good as reroll 1s and 2s on them because of their good ballistic skill. So yeah, if I get like a Fighty Lord or something, I could deal with some like people that try to tie them up and stuff, because they're not really good in combat or anything. Like they're not terrible, but they're not good. And then you can get a Chaos Lord for pretty cheap. So I think when the Malefic Lord nerf hits, that's probably the way I'll go, and I think that'll make the list a lot stronger in the ITC missions, because like all of a sudden Headhunter is not nearly as easy to get against me and stuff, so that'll definitely help. And then the Reaper it looks good on paper, but it's actually quite hard to get against me. People either always dump shooting into the one unit and usually fail to finish it off, or what I think most people should do is like shoot evenly across the units to wear them all down so that I can recycle one, but then the other two are low, so I can't recycle them all in one turn or anything. So I have to either like hide them at that point, or maybe my opponent can finish them off. That's why I run 3, so I have backups and stuff. But nobody's really done that yet, so I think it's just like people aren't used to playing against big units of cultists and things. That's fine. I'll take that. But yeah, it was definitely a fun event. It was good to play against some other people with strong lists. I really would have liked to play the Imperial Soup guy as well. Just kind of test my army against that. I think I would have probably won that game. His list could have definitely been more optimized. Didn't have enough psychic defense, stuff like that. But still definitely a powerful army. And then the Eldar list was good. Probably an uphill battle for him just because of the composition I was bringing. Just the big units and stuff like that. And then the demon list was a fun one. Like where I got to kill like that really big guy in one turn. It felt really cool to kill like I said, almost like 1,000 points of your opponent's army in one turn and just like get like that crucial death hex off. Oh, it was so awesome. So yeah, definitely some cool moments from that. But yeah, with first place in the tournament, I won some amount of money. I had to leave before I figured that out. I had a family engagement afterwards. But yeah, so I got that, and then I got an invitation to the event in December, which is really awesome. So more tournaments to come, and then, like I said, I have my my tournament coming up this Saturday. So get more reports from me. I'll try my best to take some pictures this time. Again, I know, I'm sorry, it's very difficult to visualize what I'm talking about. That's why I kind of don't get into the nitty-gritty details as much without any pictures. I'll do my best to try to get some pictures, at least like at the end of the turns or something like that, just to say, hey, this happened. Here's what it looked like. That kind of stuff. That's pretty doable, honestly. And one thing I was really worried about was time, because my army is so big. But actually, all my games were the first to finish. They all reached natural conclusions and stuff. Some of them went like to turn 4 before any kind of tabling or anything like that. So I was definitely able to like keep it moving. People were like, "Wow, you move those guys a lot, like really fast," which is good. Orc practice definitely coming in handy there, and plus years of playing giant horde armies. So I'm pretty dexterous getting that done. But yeah, good times. Happy to get the win. Hopefully can do good at the next event. Definitely going to be probably more competitive, playing against a lot of guys I'm not familiar with, so I don't know what to expect or anything, but probably going to be rocking the same lists. I don't think there's any revisions I'm going to make to it right now. I think it's very good. Very good in the ITC missions, very good in the meta. Definitely has weaknesses, but they're few and far between. That's all you can really ask for. So yeah, thanks for listening to my semi-drunken ramblings after winning the tournament. So yeah, I'll throw this up on the blog, and hopefully bring you guys some more normal battle reports this week for like my league game and stuff like that. I have a good game coming up against a very artillery-heavy Imperial Guard army. Gonna take my same chaos list, bring the noise, and we'll see what we can do against that. Very interested to play against a really heavy gun line and see what we can get done there. So yeah, again, thanks for checking me out, and see you next time.